Okay. Madam, you may unmute, madam. Or you just go on. Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 13th day of online physical education and community coaching program of Sports Authority India, Lakshmi Bai National College of Physical Education, Trivandrum. Now, in these days, we have been discussing regarding what are the different conceptual aspects of physical education and community coaching. We have been discussing regarding what is the basic idea of community coaching, how we can implement it in India, and we were discussing regarding how to kickstart for a plan for a community coaching program, how to prepare for that. Now, of course, it happens this way that community coaching, often in most cases, the coach is responsible for coordinating everything, and he is responsible for what we say making a ecosystem, sports ecosystem favorable for the development of a athlete, a child athlete. Hence, today we are having a session on how to how to manage interpersonal roles, interpersonal relationships, and how to work efficiently with others. To talk in this regard, today we are having Lieutenant Lavi Dibara Cruz, Associate Professor and ANO, SI LNCP Trivandrum with us to talk in this regard. Now, to have a few words about Madam, before joining LNCP in '96, Madam has been working as senior lecturer, senior scale lecturer and an ANO in Christ College, Iringalakuda, which is affiliated to University of Calicut. Madam gained her bachelor's degree from the same college, LNCP Trivandrum. Later on, Madam gained her post-graduation and MPhil from the prestigious Lakshmi Bai National Institute of Physical Education, Gwalior, the then LNCP Gwalior. Madam has got in academic and scholarly activities. She also has got a degree in news reading and comparing from University of Kerala. She is also a yogic practitioner. So Madam has also got a teacher's training certificate in yoga from Trivilyama Lonawala in 1990. Madam is very passionate in sports and physical activity. She has proven her cricketing skills as a wicketkeeper. She also represented Kerala in 1988. At the same time, Madam still is carrying over her passion towards physical activity and sports by participating in a lot of master athletics activities. Recently, she has won 2 silver medals in shot put and 300 meters hurdles in the National Master Athletic Meet was held in Haryana. I believe that she is the right person to talk about it in this regard. On behalf of everyone present over here, on behalf of Principal Sports Authority of India, on behalf of the coordinators, and on behalf of everyone present in this session, I extend a cordial welcome to today's speaker, Lieutenant Lavi Dibara.
Thank you, Sudhish.
I also welcome all the participants of the program, and I hand over this session to Madam to carry with the program. Madam, please.
Thank you, Dr. Sudhish, my student and colleague today. I'm indeed proud to thank him on this session, my first session that I start for you. From the portals of my alma mater, the prestigious Lakshmi Bai National College of Physical Education, Karyavatam, Trivandrum, I wish you a very good afternoon, and I take you through the evening, and I hope you stay with me. Good afternoon all begins small. Before I go ahead, I would like to bow in gratitude to the Almighty for the abundant blessings He has given me to date. Even in this COVID pandemic, where I've been caught back for a fortnight, I'm blessed to be here with you all. I thank my teachers and the principals of the colleges that I have passed through, and special mention to the principals of this institution and Christ College. I make a mention, Dr. Jayant Mukherjee, late Dr. Jayant Mukherjee, the principal who, when I was a student here, Dr. M.L. Kamlesh, who was my teacher and principal of this institution, Father Joseph Chitilapalli, the principal of Christ College, Irinjalakuda, Dr. S.S. Asrani, my teacher and principal, Dr. G. Kishore, the current superior, my teacher and principal to date. And I also thank my teachers, colleagues, teacher colleagues especially, who have imbibed the strength, confidence, and courage in me as I am before you. I also thank my fellow colleagues and my students all the way who has taken me this far. Lovely audience, you there, stay with me. Man is a social being. Taking you to the topic, working with others, that is before me. Man needs food, shelter, and clothing. All of us know it. And for this, nobody is giving you free. You've got to work. To work, you need education. And education is all about learning. The standards of education have gone down today. Education today is all about rote learning, catching up on a few years' question papers, grasping, memorizing, and recalling. Anyone who is not well read also clears with a distinction today. It's a sorry state of affairs. Education does not only include this grasping or this rote learning, it has many more factors. To be a successful person, education is important. And what is this success? How do you claim yourself to be a successful person? To be a successful person, according to me, I would say you should be having a positive existence line, a line that you demarcate and you carry your ownership, your accountability, and your responsibility over this line. Your excuses, your denials, and your blames should be below this line that you draw. When you are focused, you have a goal, and the ownership, the responsibility, and the accountability is above the blames, denials, and excuses. Definitely you are reaching success. When you look at a person or intelligence, if I bring it down to, when you answer a correct question, it is knowledge. But when you ask a correct question, it is intelligence. Intelligence matters. Intelligence includes umpteen quotients. It is a sum of many. The intelligence quotient, the emotional quotient, the social quotient, the decency quotient, the spiritual quotient, the curiosity quotient, the passion quotient, the adversity quotient, and the total satisfaction quotient that I have coined it today. Now, what is this intelligence quotient? It is the comprehensive ability of a person to understand, reason, analyze, and move ahead, or to be well read. When you look at the emotional quotient, this is all about emotions, how you control your emotions, how you keep yourself calm and at peace. And this concept was given by Daniel Goleman way back in 1990s. Such persons would have empathetic and authentic approaches. They would be flexible in their communication, and they would be able to navigate conflicts. When you look at the social quotient, way back in 1920s, this has been coined by Edward Thorndike, and this enables a person to socially adjust with others. When you work with others, you need support, you need to blend with them. It is not a one-man show. Social intelligence and emotional quotient clubs together, it is essential. When you talk about the decency quotient, it is about able to respect and be humble. Intelligence quotient alone should not be an assessing factor when taken at interviews. Decency factor or decency quotient is important. In spiritual quotient, it is believing on a strength above. When you have grace and when you have faith On a strength above, you are better. You will be calm. No adversity, no problems will alter you. The curiosity quotient is a recent concept, not so very recent. Maybe from 2013, this is in news, and this is brought out by Tom Friedman. He has said that curiosity helps you learn more. When you want to know something, when you want to learn, it is a curiosity factor that pushes you. When you are curious, you learn happily. You approach a certain subject or a topic or an area when you're passionate about it. Passion quotient also clubs along with curiosity quotient. And to tell you, curiosity quotient and the passion quotient together increases the intelligence quotient. The more you're curious to study, the more you're curious to learn, the more you're curious to listen to me, greater is the vibrations or the polishing or the brushing of your brain or the intelligence factor. The adversity quotient. Adversity quotient is very important. Not all people who are rank holders, who have placed themselves high, are the winners. Successful people are those who are able to convert obstacles, adversities into opportunities. When you are faced with a difficulty, if you are able to simply stride over or hurdle through, then that is the adversity quotient. Very sorry, we have had recently a suicidal death of a very famous young potential actor, Sushant Singh Rajput. His IQ was very high. His social intelligence was too good. But his adversity quotient to me, or as read, was poor. He never had a friend with whom he could confide and get out of it. He never had someone to whom he could speak and get over it. So adversity quotient is important and is part of intelligence, and these are the areas to be catered. Why do I bring in this area of adding on or summing up all these quotients? You can find 8 quotients summing together. I would say total satisfaction quotient. You may not be full or perfect in all these quotients, and IQ of 263 is the highest known to date. Anan is the man who has that value. Emotional quotient 90 to 100 is good, 160 is perfect. So these values which determine your levels, you cannot have the highest. It will be up and down. An intelligent leader will have intelligence quotient plus the others in proportion. You need to improve. You need to brush upon. You need to understand that you have all these areas. God has blessed you. You are man's, you are God's unique creation. You are intelligent. Nobody is without intelligence. It is like how you have muscles. A human body is given, you have muscles and bones, and then your mind, your strength pushes you, you start running, and then you develop your muscles. When you become active, your nerves are better, and then the entire body is functioning. Your heart gets stronger, you live longer, you breathe better, you breathe longer. Now, same way, you can see, or I would tell you, consider each of these components, these 9 components that I've mentioned, as muscles. Do not allow them to atrophy. Most of us, what we see is when we gain a degree or when we gain a certificate or a PhD, we find that the muscle is done. It's just money. And then complete formats or formalities of going for a seminar, conference, finish up your classes. No, keep exercising, start flexing. I would tell you, start flexing each of the quotients within you. Every flexion in every quotient is an added strength to your brain, to intelligence. Intelligence matters. It matters quite a lot. To be successful, you have to polish all these areas. Request to you once again, do not atrophy these muscles. I would say muscles because I'm into sports, and it's always muscles that's making me move. Even when I'm talking, it's a certain group of muscles that is allowing me. And why I say this, it is an intelligent person who can overtake another. When you work on a platform or when you work in an institution or an organization, you are never alone. I would state the quote of Ken Blanchard, who said, "None of us is as smart as all of us. No one is better than all together." An organization might have so many members. When it is with the teamwork, each one's contribution is valid. It's like preparing a table and you have all the dishes up, all the good things come on table. And if your colleagues are good enough, then negatives or the extra salt and chili and everything can be removed if they are honest, if they are true, and if they do not carry false egos. For that, you need God's grace. Spiritual quotient should work high in you. I also would like to add another quote by Phil Jackson, who has said, "The strength of the team is its individual members, and the strength of each individual member is the team." I understand and I believe that this introduction in understanding yourself, working with others, my say would be first work on you. You yourself should work, build, strengthen, and increase your agility, your flexibility, your endurance, your stamina to stride all obstacles, all hurdles, whatever comes, come what may. Though hell should bar the way, fight it, challenge it, get strong, get smarter, and be yourself. Be a happy self. Also, to analyze yourself. Now, I have told you the components that each of us have. You have a Johari window model. What is this Johari window model? It's all about psychology. It is an assessment tool which each one can look into, be it a coach, be it a teacher, be it a mentor. What is this Johari window? I'm sorry, I cannot put in slides for you because these slides which are already there are from the persons who has organized, and I'm to go along with that. But on my introduction, I would like to catch up on all this because it is important to know. It is important to know how the Johari window model helps to analyze or helps to assess yourself. It is a self-awareness tool. This has come in force in 1955. Joseph and Harrington, these are the two famous psychologists who have framed it. The Joe from Joseph and the Harry from Harrington is a joining, and we call it the Johari window. Johari window is a square which is divided into 4 quadrants. You can see the top, the upper left quadrant is the open area where you know what you are and others also see what you are. You speak, you talk, your intelligence, your smartness, your capacity, your organization, your management, your interactions, your empathy, your social interactions, all this, what makes a man, is seen by you and you exhibit. That is the top quadrant, the left top quadrant. It's called the open space. Just below that, the second quadrant, I would say, that is the left bottom quadrant. That is the hidden quadrant. What is this hidden? We have values as a person. We do not exhibit our true self. Every person on this universe has a good me and a bad me self. I know you would all agree with it. You might be smiling at your level. This is a virtual audience that I have, but feel free and feel happy to smile it. The good me and the bad me. I might be good before you. I might be bad at my home. I might be bad before you. I might be good at home. This difference happens. Now, it is the emotional values mostly, to make it more clear, the emotional quotient factors or the emotional intelligence that is normally hidden. Nobody wants to expose a bad self. Nobody wants others to speak about you. They hide it. And that is the hidden part. The third quadrant, the top right portion, is the blind spot. Blind spot in the sense you might be exhibiting so many of your features which you don't know. It might be good, it might be bad, but the others are watching you. You need to know that when you have a close interaction with somebody who's trying to help you, trying to develop you, especially in the case of a coach and a trainee, or a teacher and a student, or a friend or a mentor who's with you, this third quadrant, the hidden factors, can be exposed, can be explained through social interactions. It is a tool to assess. And the last part is the unknown. The unknown means you have many qualities, many potentials within you. You don't know. You have hidden it and you don't expose it also. People who watch you, hardly these days anybody is wanting to improve or help another person improve. If there are opportunities to push you down, that is where they are looking. And this world needs to change. That is because of the education and the competition that has come in. We have advanced through so much of science and technology. We have pushed ourselves through machine learning, digital learning, building muscles, entering competitive exams, clearing NET, JRF, PhDs, conferences, international conferences, staying in front, whatnot. But are we, as human beings, ready to be human. You be human. It's such a lovely place. It's such a lovely stay. It's a short while. We don't live for long. We carry good values. We give good values. We be role models. So this Johari window is another aspect which needs to be looked into so that you are able to better yourself either as a coach, a mentor, or a growing individual. Very, very essential as far as understanding yourself or helping to work with others. And when you work with others, there are factors to be kept in mind, because strong personalities in a work sector definitely contribute. Like I told you, the qualities or the workmanship or the results of joining brings in true values. And to be part of an organization or to be part of a sector, success counts. And who are these successful people? Successful people resonates as resourceful people. They are visionaries, they are doers, they are fun oriented, they are sympathetic, and they are focused. I hope these points are clear. Resourceful in the sense you are able to give a solution to a problem. Visionary is when you have a target ahead of you and you are able to go for it through a streamlined or a systematic plan. You are a doer. You're not sitting aside. You work, you push yourself for it. Fun oriented. Nobody likes working and being in a rough, serious, or a tough atmosphere. You need to be a humorous. You need to cut a joke. You need to get a social outing. You need to have a cup of coffee around when you're on the work, when time is permitted. That's why breaks are permitted. You need to break the monotony and break it with some fun. Then the sympathetic part. You cannot be every day is not good or every day is not Sunday. If I simply spell it, ups and downs come in. Today I might lose somebody, tomorrow another, God forbid. So these sorrows, these things happen. Even on the work, you might lose out your targets, or you might get slow, or health problem might push you out. You have to be considerate. You find officials on top understanding you more than the colleagues who like try to grind you up. So these are areas which will make you a successful person or keep you happy. And few points where successful work teams share. They would be determined. They would be willing to assist others. They will be superior in their written and oral communication skills. You will find them having excellent organizational skills and strong project management skills. These are essential. These are important. These are important. And you find that a team functions well when there is trust, there is conflict management, there is commitment, accountability, and there is focus on results. For victory, there should be a common goal, there should be open communication, team roles, time management, practical problem solving, and bonding. These are the few things that I would like to address as an introduction to you so that you understand. To work with others, you first should work on yourself, understand what a successful person is and what are the functions of a successful or a work team, what is expected, what are the functions. Now I go over to the slides that has been presented. I got it yesterday afternoon. So I'll help you understand the roles that a coach, an athlete, or the parent or whoever is connected. The first coach, for the first slide that is shown is about a bad coach. I'm sorry to address a bad coach. Nobody wants to say the coach is bad. Nobody wants to be read as a bad coach. To me, I would say this is an this is a what is the word to be used? This is something against the decency quotient. You cannot take the picture of a person and say he's bad, even though he has done a mistake. It is not that he has intentionally done it. He would have reasons. Maybe he was so upset, he expected a good show. His emotional intelligence fell off and he had to scream and shout. You can see the athletes upset, how they grind their teeth, how they bite their lips. All this is very sad. It's bringing their demoralizing them. We should never be that. The essence is try to adjust on your emotions. And at times you need to be so to help or get the better out of them. Then you have the next slide, which tells you what are good coaches. A good coach is always helping the person reach closer to the targets. He is well informed. He has understood the players. He knows the emergencies has come up. He alters on whatever is required. He gives them pep talk psychologically. The physiological training part would be complete. He would help them in adverse situations. He would not let them also break when adversity comes in. A game is always a moment of adversity or a good luck or bad luck situation. It's a coach that matters. He is the one who sits outside or helps them through talks or through his presence, how he controls, how he navigates. I have a slide being operated from another end, so there is a delay. We should be good role models. And what is a good role model? When a coach and an athlete is there, an athlete is immensely drawn towards a model, a coach who is perfect in himself. No man is perfect, but closer to the quotients that he has registered or he has helped himself. Knowing the game, tactical preparation, the technical preparation, whatsoever comes in the psychology, the training part, everything accounts. You have to empathize, you have to sympathize, and at times you need to even punish them if needed. Not all require punishment. Rewards and punishments are also part of it. Motivation that is required. Now, who is a role model? If you look at a role model, is definitely a leader. Who is a leader? One on whom you would like to follow. And in the case of sports, an exemplary sportsman, a coach is definitely somebody who has scaled higher than you. He would have good ethical character. His morals would be very high. He wouldn't be somebody who plays the fool or takes you easy or does not respect you. Give respect and take respect is very important. A good communicator. If your communication skills and what you intend to tell and what comes out is proper, it makes sense. Respectful. Everybody wants to be respected. You should keep your place. You should keep your position so that you don't go low or cheap. You should be punctual. You should be honest. You should be on time. You should be responsible. You should be accountable to yourself, to your trainee, to your authority or the organization that you work. And most important is self-discipline and self-control. What is the self-discipline and self-control? You cannot allow yourself to flare up as and how you want. You have to go by the standards or by the demands that is placed for you. And for a coach, there are approaches that he can take. He can be an autocratic coach. He can be a democratic or a laissez-faire coach. What is this autocratic? Where you are rigid and you command or you say, and they are basically performing what on the hold that you have on them. Normally it happens when the athletes or they are beginners and where things are to be learned. You need to pressurize on them and take them so that negatives, the negations or the difficulties are removed. Democratic is maybe when it is a little more higher, when you have picked on them, when they have understood you and you can take them towards achieving the goal. It is for the athlete understands that he has picked up some skills and you can move accordingly. You can be a little more lighter where it is interchanging the approaches, not too rigid. And laissez-faire is the decisions of the coach is very little. This is for elite. He goes into, maybe in the case of a jumper, he decides how much he has to help himself or with what force or how he would approach or how he would take ownership for his actions. He has been trained and brought through the autocratic, the democratic, and when it comes to his performance, he himself is the final decider as to which jump will he give the best or which jump. It is not on a dime that things happen. You can have your own decisions, and this laissez-faire theory of the coach allowing his interactions or keeping a hold on them is basically more to the side of the athlete rather than himself. This is usually where the athlete has gained technical advantage or mastery over the skill that is being taught. And now, which coaching style to adopt? You can have the style of your choice, and it depends upon the level of athletes that you have. It's important to understand the difficulties that come in. Every style that you take, there is a result. You have to introspect yourself with the training or the coaching that you take. Then you have your students with you. Whatever happens, there should be an introspection daily, and that is where you are, whether your positive existence line, the line that keeps you happy, whether you have blames on you, whether you have excuses on you, whether you have your denials, or whether you take ownership for what has happened, whether you're responsible for what you have done, or whether you're accountable. And that's the line that tells you what style, where, and how to use. A relationship between a coach and athlete is very important. It's a strong bonding because a coaching or a student or a trainee does not come overnight. Rome was not built in a day. You should have communication. You should have positive vibes in you. You should have positive vibes flowing out to the trainees that are ahead of you. You should be genuinely interested in them, in their upcoming, in their future, get caring and making sure that no injuries or no lackiness happen because of you. Take care if in any case, if something should happen at their end, you have to foresee the difficulties, keep in touch, read, connect to the physiotherapist, the psychologist, or whoever you have at your end who can counsel you and help you better. And as a mentor, you should be available to them every day, however small or big. We have had students, we have had people who have gone through tortures, tormenting. Some have cut their some have lost their lives, some have cut their nerves. They've gone through so much of difficulties. Why? Because they feel that everything is lost and it's closing for them. Never. As a mentor, as a coach, you ought to be available. And this availability depends upon the bonding that you have made with time, with the passage of time, with your trust. They should be having a firm grip on you, and you too should allow them to understand that you are a person with grace. You are a person who will hold them up when they fall. You are a person that they can count on. You are a person who gives a shoulder for them to lean on. Not the physical aspects. You need to make sure, build in them the confidence by your approaches, by your strategies, or by your personality, so that they lean on you and it is happy growing, happy improving, or happy benefits, or happy outcome, or a result, you can say. Finally, it's a result that matters. Now, parents are also part of it. It is not that a child is at the mercy of the coach or mentor and he or she is free. Parents play a decisive role. Initial training aspects or the initial building of a child is from home. Genes matter a lot. The character, the emotional disturbances, right from the child, right from the time the child is born and is conceived in the womb, the parental influence is there. Children might be attached to parents. When he comes out for training, training means stress, adding stress. You're pressuring you're giving sufficient hard work to your muscles. You're working against time. You're working against resistance. You're working your own body, and all this is added pressure. Unless you give them a atmosphere, you instill in them that there is a result waiting and there is talent. You don't train everybody. Somebody who has potential is at the hands of the coach. To a physical educator, it is all about interaction, but to a coach, it is child-centered, it is student-centered. He or she is with you. So when the parent is also part of it, the parents should be informed about the game, about how long the child has to play, what are the training patterns, the kind of clothing they use. You can't expect a child from an Orthodox family, a Muslim, and then you dress her in the gymnastic wear. They might have a heart attack and fall. These days things have improved, it is okay. But while we were students at college, when we used to wear shorts and run out for a cross country, people in the neighborhood were upset. They would think, are these girls crazy? Is the college, something happening to the college? Is the college okay? So these kind of things, if you tell them what the kind of training is, what the kind of kit is, what they have to wear, there could be emergencies, there could be injuries coming up. They would not have heartaches. They would be better prepared. They would be conditioned to face it. And there should be a code of conduct for parents. Parents cannot walk in and out like a hotel or restaurant. You need to give them time. You need to advise them. You need to tell them at home also. The parents play a role. about the food they take. Not all coaches have the benefit of having the trainees in prestigious institutions like LNCP. All of us had a beginning way back at home. We did not have side training centers or schemes where we were given rich food and enjoyment, merrymaking, all the pleasures that the elite athletes have, an AC, a bus to take care of you, washing machine to wash your clothes, special expert cooks to give you food, anything, all said and done, what you claim is done. So when the parents are there at the hands of the child for food and other things, the coach advises them. They cannot go on a diet that they want. The coach has to inform them and tell them what the demands are of the child and how much he should be eating. Some people are, mostly when you look at sports persons, they don't come from much educated families, but these days things are improving. Everybody has a distinction, everybody has a PhD. So not much of time is lost from the coach. The parent meeting should be there. Some students reside in hostels. It should be at least on an annual basis. The meetings should be held. We are responsible to educate parents about parenting behavior. Good parenting accounts and good parenting reflects, and good parenting is result oriented. Parents are the grace for a child. Just as all of us treasure our parents, parents also treasure their wards, their kids, their children. Any amount of growth, any amount of age advances, the child is still small for you. But if you educate them, they are able to take you and come and see you successful, and they are proud of you finally when you represent the country, the state, or whatever levels God has kept for you. And always there should be a two-way communication with parents. Try not to be defensive. Whatever they have to say, allow them to say, because finally the parents have their say. Some might be overprotective, some might be some might not be wanting to with parents, the coaches might not be wanting interference from their end. So you ought to allow them to speak, and your social intelligence, your emotional intelligence, or your decency intelligence, the amount of respect and humility that you have for them, that should be in proportion. So there is a happy blending. No coach works in isolation or works on a two-way with only athlete and coach, or coach and athlete. It is a parent influence also, and that is a huge sum. The levels of the levels of difficulty to the coach is reduced. Of course, parents can also be a distraction if they are not well read, and if they are overprotective and their child has already gone into an injury. Normally the psych or the emotional levels are down. You need to advise them, you need to keep them comfortable, you need to push them through the adversity that has knocked them. As a coach, it is your role, and to keep this distraction to minimum, you should know when the parents should be meeting, when the parents should be there. Sometimes parents act as positive influence. Not all parents are proven assets to the child. Some are distraction. You have houses where parents drink, they cause disturbance, they destroy their peace. So such parents, the coach should understand. The coach should take a history of the student or the ward that is with him or her, and allow the negatives to be sidetracked. Keep the negatives that is bothering or interfering with the coaching to be brought to a minimal. The coach should not allow the parents to be overprotective, and if it is in a positive way, it can be. But if it is disturbing or bringing in pressure on the athlete as a performer, it should be taken care of. And being over involved and over critical is also important, because finally athletes have two resistance to go through. One is what the coach offers, and the other side that you see, the parent. The parents are important, coach is also equally important. Coach takes you up on the performance, and that is what you want, but your love and affection breaks you. So you should, as a coach, you should know when, where, and what. It is the social or the intelligence and the social quotients that matter here. You have an athletic triangle as put up on the slide. the player, the coach, the parent, all the three blends together to the optimal, brings in success. What more a coach wants? Everybody is looking out for success. And for this, this is all about being positive, being informed, having, when you have the listening skills, and when there is clarity in instruction, and when there is feedback, there is follow-up, there is accountability to what you do. When all this happens, there is success. Success accounts is based on these 7 points which are mentioned: the credibility, the positive reinforcement, the information that you give, the training that you give, how even you give them training for 1 week and then you go for your home function or something, and then you come back, the training is lost. So consistency in your approaches, in your watch over them is important. You got to listen to them. They also have to listen to you. It is all interaction. All the three have a role to play on all the 7 items. Then you have the developmental model and the professional sports model. When an athlete is beginning to develop, the parents and coaches play a role to support them and make them into an athlete. And as they become an athlete, it is not one coach that makes an athlete. You go through different stages, right from the Panchayat level to the Olympic level. You have hi-fi coaches at the end. So through managed coaches, when winning is a focus, it is coaches and the athletes. Parents and coaches, they provide for the athletes' state or the coming up or performance, you can say, when it is at the professional sports level. Goals are set by athletes and coaches. All of us know you need to prepare yourself physically, your fitness, your components that you need to improve on your physiological levels. Physiology accounts a lot. You need to prepare them psychologically. You need to give them proper training. The technical skills are to be done. The tactical part has to be done. Along with that, as you approach the performance goals, the social and the psychosocial aspects are also to be considered, and they are the assets or the parameters that a coach takes into account in building an athlete, so that the athlete is able to reach out to his performance. Then the relationships are important. Primary relationships, secondary relationships. You have parents' expertise recognized and welcomed when it is an expert who's there. The coach knows skating and the parent is unaware about it. When you have a coach who's an expert and the parent also has some knowledge about it and is able to monitor from a distance, these are the areas where the different kinds of attachments come in, where the coach and the athlete has to be connected more, where the communication are not so frequent, when it is primarily concentrated, and when it is it's very little, or you can say it's just a provider. At the professional level, it's all by the athlete only. Now, when you work on an organization or an institution or a school, you have your own role to play. You are accountable to the administrator. There are other coaches. There are officials who come in. To the administrator, the management timings, the rules fixed, the functions of the management should be known to you. You should be organized. You should keep the institution informed, or the administrator informed about your presence, the attendance and all that. Keep yourself punctual, honest, on time, keep records, and money is also at times essential. Do not loot on the finances that is being offered to you. Stay wise, stay honest, that keeps you safe. And with other coaches, it is not just one coach that you have at a center. You have others. Give due respect, the decency part, the social part, learn to communicate, understand each other, learn from others. It is not that you alone are the soul of everything. You can help, you can get assistance from seniors. Sometimes the juniors are smarter. Younger generation is always smarter. Help, get help from them, move ahead, contribute. And then the officials. Officials are very important. When you look at a match and you have an official, wish them, be in terms with them. And if they have human error happens on a blowing, You might not be at fault, but the whistle has gone against you. Can you stop and can you argue? Officials will try their best to be errorless. They would try. Good official means he's an unbiased person, but at times this comes in, and that's the time when you should keep your calm, because that one whistle which he has understood that he has made an error will keep you going in the long run. But if you retaliate, if you call him bad words, you get a card, you move out, you fall out from his mind, and there is a situation where he has the ability, he is the sole judge to decide whether it is a favorable or an unfavorable situation. If you have not tackled that situation, or you have not harmed him, or you have not caused any factors or values or emotionally disturbed him, he will favor you. And that could be a winning spree for you. That could be a rise in your job. That could be a rise or a promotion to the coach or to the trainer or to the athlete. Avoid interacting negative to officials, just as to the administrator. Do not question them. There are rules, there are permitted strategies. Be polite, be humble. The decency quotient is efficiently on a higher scale for those who tackle such situations. Your emotional intelligence. No man or no human being has only an emotional intelligence or a social intelligence. It is intelligence quotient plus a combination. Whichever is high, an emotional can take up for a certain situation, an adversity quotient can take up in another situation, or your curiosity quotient when you want to learn, or when you want to go after something, you want to know more about it, mostly with reading and learning. The curiosity and the passion quotient continues, or it takes a higher scale. So keep your muscles. I say these quotients are muscles to me. Exert your muscles, flex your muscles, and be on the run. To be an influential coach, you have to be a model. You should have a philosophy. You should have your basics. You should have an undisturbed state of mind which attracts, which influences. You should have decisions for yourself. You should have sound knowledge. You should have concern for others. You should be empathetic. You should have a focus on wholesome development of the athlete. The prime concern should be your athlete or the student or the target in front or the person in front of you to reach their targets. When you're fully passionate, or when you're fully motivated, or when you're fully desirous of helping the child win, definitely you are an influential coach. Influence is about how you interact and how you get the favors, how you get the favor of the athlete who's training under you. I wouldn't want to take up all this. Oh, please, rules of command. Maybe the net is with you and you can read, and they would tell you what it's all about. Time is also running, and can take over to the next slide. Actually, I'm not a coach. I'm not so much so familiar with all this. What I am is I'm a physical educator, teacher, more of a simple person rather than into coaching or into sports or into active performance strategies, tactics, techniques, things like that. Of course, physical education is all about sports, movement, and all that. But from a coach's point of view, I feel a coach will be better able to address those areas. And to summarize, community coach, we all of us train sports people. Sports is becoming a culture of the society. But I'm sad to say at the same time, we cannot take the entire country to an Olympics. We cannot take the entire district to a state championship. And we cannot take the entire state to a national championship. It's absurd. But when coaching community or coaching is part of syllabus, I would advocate, please do not put pressure on them. Do not bring training into them. Allow them to exercise, have fun, enjoyment, so they are with you. And the policies that are to be altered, according to me, I'm a layman, I voice it because I feel it's genuine. We have maths teachers for Division A, Division B, higher secondary, the primary section, the higher secondary classes, colleges, things like that. Why this difference? And when it comes to an entire organization where the higher secondary and the senior secondary and the +2 levels are already in the same campus, one person to take up physical education. Why is it so? When physical education is is a person in physical education, a person who's armed himself with all the essentials to work a human body. I would call him a human engineer. Why should he be denied? He can help the principal and all the staffs, the employees of the institution. He can help the teachers. He can help the students. He can help the cleaners. He can help the auto rickshaw, the drivers, the bus drivers, whoever. He can assist the parents who come and wait during their free hours. When this is the role of a person, a physical educator whose knowledge, to me, I would deem it and I would say he is the best man on this universe. Why I say so? He is better than a doctor. Believe me, a physical educator is better than a doctor because the exercises or the fun or the happiness that a physical educator provides does not have side effects. Healthy lifestyle, exercise keeps you happy. Your happy hormones are excited. Your happy hormones are brought into your body. The oxytocin, the serotonin, the dopamine, the endorphins, they all keep you happy. Exercise is that. When you start a schedule in the morning with a little bit of exercise, start for the beginning as little and then slowly pick up. You help yourself, you help your family, you help your school, you help your community. The nation is bettered. We don't have to go into programs and syllabus formulation where training and coaching comes in. Coaching is at an advanced level, and not all. A team may hold 16, 12, 5, 2, whatever. And the dropouts, aren't you thinking about the dropouts? They take out a lot of time preparing them for the team, and when they fall out, when it's too much into performance and coaching, all the time is lost. You have to sacrifice your studies, your academics. That cannot happen. So you exercise for fun, you exercise for health, you exercise for happiness, keeping your energy levels high with all the happy hormones entering into your body. And here I would like to tell you that there is a stress hormone, cortisol. Maybe there are more. I'm not a medical professional. I have not so much learned, but whatever little knowledge I have, I'm putting it across to you. The cortisol is a stressor. The cortisol brings down your happiness. You should avoid cortisol. Caffeine is a de-stressor, but never take it in the morning in an empty stomach. Have it with breakfast. It uplifts you. It increases you. Added amounts of sugar also will spike your insulin levels, and that is also very sad. You should take care. And the brain is activated. Why did so much of advancement in science and technology come in? Why is there so much of advancement in our field to physical education, games and sports? We are better than human doctors. We are better than human engineers. We can't sit in a house if you are unhealthy. An engineer can build a house, but if there are no persons who are healthy, there is no meaning. But if you have a healthy body, then is the role of a engineer. Then is the role of a doctor. Doctor gives you medicines, soothes you, and then side effects to kidney, liver, whatever. He's not bothered about the side effects. He just wants prescription, BMW cars, and the hi-fi cars reaches residents for the number of prescriptions and the connections he makes to scan centers. Hi-fi, easy. It's a lot of hard work. Intelligence is required to become a doctor, but ultimately, now in India, when you look at the number of deaths that is happening, is the health department looking into it? We know on a day, 2 lakh deliveries are happening, but how many gynecologists are there to look into it? We have 50,000 maximum. The rest of it is death, and especially in the rural areas. Is there a policy bringing out the number of doctors to help survive all this? No, we have failed. India has failed. The same way, the number of physical educators also is a failed status. The number of physical educators must be increased. It should be a department. It should be the department holding higher number of persons on a school or an institution, because they are the ones who can cater, and they should be well read. They should be prepared to take up their task with time, with practice, with self-help, with self-awareness, with assistance, with community coaching programs, and with refresher courses, etc. You can build yourself. I'm happy I'm able to sound this, and it is my first presentation, and I have some takeover or carryover tips for you, a dozen. I know it is not too heavy, but you can listen to me. Follow the golden rule. What is the golden rule about? Do unto others as you wish them do unto you. You behave to others as you want them to behave to you. Second, you balance your work and life together. It is not only about work. Life is also important. You cannot just be a workaholic and then destroy your home. Everybody lives for completion, complete satisfaction of life. Never overthink. Anything that is bothering you, leave it. Leave things at the workstation in the waste paper bin there. If you should learn something from it, carry over, analyze and rectify it. Don't wait for success to find you. Go grab it. Opportunities only knock once. Once they are at your door, go fetch it. Take care of your space and mind. Believe you are worthy. Trust in yourself. Trust in your potentials. Never allow tormentors, witch hunters to knock you, to scratch you, or to scrape you. Be your bold, courageous self. A king isn't born, he is made. Good or bad, what you sow, you reap. Stay happy always and excite your dopamine and all those um, hormones that I spoke to you about. Stay happy always. To stay happy, you de-stress yourself. You should also know there is a contribution of omega-3. Omega-3 helps you build your brain. Omega-3, with the advent or with the intake of omega-3 into the human brain, or the addition, the effect of omega-3 in man has caused a drastic change. If you look or if you read, you will find out that omega-3 has brought this major difference in man as he has progressed in life. So make sure your diet, your meal holds on to omega. That doesn't mean today you go over and take a plate full of omega-3. No, 3 to 4 grams per meal, and the entire or the correct procedure and things find out from a nutrition. I'm just a layman before you, but I have these thoughts for you because I want to incite the emotional, the curiosity quotient and the passion quotient. If it is at rest, don't atrophy your passion quotient and your curiosity quotient. I know my students will all my students have challenged me and they are all better off, and I want to see them driving BMWs and big cars and living luxurious lives. I pray that all of them do well in life. I'm happy as a teacher. I've been able to help them in whatever levels or in whatever God has blessed me with. To be a teacher or coach is not to be happy always. You cannot make everybody in your institution or your administration section or everybody happy. If you think your role is to make everybody happy, please be sure, take my words, be an ice cream vendor on the street. That's the job that you could be better off. It's not a teacher's or a coach's role to keep everybody happy. And do not prepare the road for your kids, rather prepare the kids for the road. And the last one is, always remember, the sun is alone, yet it shines. I close with this. The sun is alone, yet it shines. May you all be diamonds in the workspaces you are. And if you are thrown to a dustbin, make sure to shine it out. Nothing will destroy you. Nothing will destroy your charm. A diamond is always a diamond. Good luck and God bless, and air your views. And if you have any questions, please put forward. I'm only too happy. And if I'm able to do it, I'm able to do justice to it, I will only be too welcome to take it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for really informative and enlightening. Now, we move on to the question and answer session. Madam, it was really a new thing for us to understand what is this Johari. Madam, could you please explain how most to understand?
A little slow, please. I didn't follow you.
Madam, I believe it is really a new thing to understand what is this Johari window. Could you please explain how this Johari window method helps in improving me as a coach? It is a question from Sanjay.
Okay. Johari window is a psychological self-awareness tool. It is a psychological tool. It is helping you to understand. Maybe you are a person, you're working, you have your credentials, but your quotients, your social quotient or your talents or your abilities are exposed, hidden, seen, untouched, untapped. So through this window, or through analyzing, through discussion with your coach, you will be able to see what that person is exhibiting. The person might have structure, the morphological, the anthropometry, which is deserving, or which would help him be a potential jumper. But when it comes down, to understanding his psyche, the emotional level. He has all the talent to perform as a jumper, but his psychological levels are not permitting him. How do you know that the psychology is hampering him? Through questionnaires, you can find out what his psychological levels are, which he is hiding. He has not exposed himself. He's trying to be a happy, slow, silent person, working on the platform, following your instructions. He is doing well, but the psychological part is hampering him. He has an atmosphere back home which is troublesome. Through this Johari window of analyzing or going into questionnaires or helping him or reading him with conversation, with silent listening, talking to him, you have to spend more time. And that is when all the 4 windows are open. Now you see a person, he doesn't seem to be a dancer. He doesn't show he has dancing skills. But then you have a feeling, maybe there's one person less on the dance team, and say, why not try this person? And he's a silent person. As a mentor, I wouldn't want the most prettiest persons to be on the dance platform. For me, I take it a credit when the person who's least bothered or the neglected person, I would want that person to be on stage. I would slowly go on to that person and say, would you mind dancing? Would you take up this role? He or she would say, no, I don't know dancing. I haven't danced. Have you seen me dancing? It's my role there. I would say, join me, take a few steps. And then you see, he is not knowing it. I also have not seen him. But then I'm pulling out that hidden potential from him. And he turns out to be the best thing. So these are the areas where your interactions, maybe through questionnaires or through interviews or social listening, or humbling yourself, being happy with them, showing signs of gratitude and helping them listen to you, following up with them, you can understand better. You need to spend time. You cannot sit back and say, this is my coaching, it's over, I'm going, time is up, I go. Nothing actually works.
Thank you.
I hope I'm clear. And if it is not clear, please put it through. I can give you more because we are running short of time.
No, madam, we have plenty of time ahead, madam.
Okay, fine.
Madam,
is this question clear?
Yeah, madam.
Are you happy with the answer?
Yes,
Sanjay,
madam.
is that Sanjay who asked? Sanjay, I hope I've done justice to your question.
Yeah. Yes, madam, it is crystal clear. We are getting the reply from Sanjay that it is clear, madam.
Oh, so thank you. God bless you, Sanjay.
Yes.
That means you have brushed your intelligence quotient, your passion and your curiosity. I would say you're the first person on my slot of virtual audience. I want to congratulate you and I want to give a big shake hand to you, because when you ask a question, that is, when you ask a correct question, that is where intelligence is. That means you have listened to me. I'm happy.
So happy for that, madam. Madam, we are having one more question from Rajendra Dange, who is asking, madam, I am working in a school where all the parents are very educated. But then...
One sec, where all the parents are?
Very much educated.
Okay.
But then now, even then they interfere in my business when I am doing the coaching during a game. Now, madam, can you please suggest some measures to educate these people not to interfere in my business? How can it is possible? Please suggest your measures, madam.
I understand that on a coaching platform, are you a teacher at school or you are a coach? Are you a teacher at school or are you a coach?
Madam, actually that is not clear here, madam. He has not mentioned that.
Okay, I would be happy if that is cleared. In case you are a coach, the platform is more open for parents interaction. And why this parents interfere is because coaching field is not so happy and not so socially accepted today. You find strategies, you find lots of menace where coaches override on players, especially the gender conflict, a male taking over advantage over the females. It's very sad, it's heart-wrenching. So parents are bothered. If the coach is honest, if the coach is pure, if the coach is straightforward, he shouldn't have worry. He should ask them to come and sit by the sidelines or the permitted audience area and watch the show. No questions should be permitted. Unless you permit a question, they would be interacting. After the coaching session, be polite, allow your decency quotient to come up. They are parents after all. The grace is parents, coaches, and athletes. Talk to them, be humble, thank them for coming, tell them you're grateful. They have watched you also. It's not only the trainers that are with you. They have made, they have pushed their precious time, they are educated. But unless there is an error or there is a backfiring or there is something which is bothering them, I don't think any educated parent would come and interfere. Kindly don't misunderstand me, but take it positively. Think that they are bothered and they want to support you. Always go positive over an adversity. An adversity quotient is what you can create here. Out of the problem that you think is a problem, you think they are coming to support you. If there is an emergency or an accident, they will also help you. Take it that way. You feel happy. You rejoice over the parents coming. But certainly they should not come and interfere and say, this is the kind of training you do. This is not the kind of training you should follow. I hope I am also clear on this.
Yeah, madam. It was crystal clear, madam. Now, with this, we are coming to the end of this very informative session. Yes, indeed. From the chat box, I could understand that all the participants were so happy and they were very much what we say. They are telling that it was really informative and they have got a great deal of insights into more of than the theoretical knowledge. They have learned a lot of life skills in terms of how to manage interpersonal roles. On behalf of everyone present over here, I extend my sincere gratitude to Lieutenant Lavi Deborah Cruz. Madam has handled the session in a very, what we say, befitting manner. So, and I really think that all the participants could get one or more life skills so that they can handle a very big problem that they are facing in their practical. Of course, all the teachers are telling that what we say, in order to have a company with my same colleague is easy, but to handle handle the parents, teachers, and everyone rest is very difficult thing. And of course, with your golden words and your golden rules, even madam, people are asking for sending and sharing your golden points in order to have a healthy, what we say, interpersonal role. That is being requested, madam. On behalf of everyone present in this session, and on behalf of all the panelists, on behalf of Sports Authority of India, Lakshmi Bai National College of Physical Education, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Khelo India, and behalf of principal and staff of Lakshmi Bai National College of Physical Education, and on behalf of all the participants and my personal behalf, I extend my sincere gratitude to Madam. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you, Sudesh. But I have one more word before it closes. I'm really grateful. I'm indebted to all of you for your patient hearing and for your good words and for the golden lines that I had to do. I haven't done justice to my slides. Actually, what has happened is I was put on some task which continued for 40 days and I couldn't push myself ahead for this presentation. I have never gone outside for a presentation, even though my passion or my curiosity quotient stings on me to be a motivational speaker, to be an inspiring person in life, at least to those who need me. This is my goal, and I have drawn the positive existence line on me. And I'm too glad that my first presentation has sparked out these values back to me, and I'm glad that someday I will be able to help you. These slides, what has reached me was yesterday afternoon. I'm so sorry to reveal it. So I couldn't put my slides. We are 3 persons on the same forum having to speak on the same thing. So this was all that we could do. I'm sorry, excuse me. And please keep all those muscles of yours flexing. Do not atrophy them. Good luck. God bless. See you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. I also thank all the participants for your patient listening. Now I hand over the session to Dr. Sanjeev S. Patil for a small announcement. Sir, please.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. 2 announcements are there. Tomorrow, 12:30, we will have a special speaker from Cricket, Grant Alito from New Zealand. Grant Alito is the former New Zealand team member who was instrumental in scoring a significant 84 runs against South Africa and leading New Zealand to the finals around the 2015 Cricket World Cup team. So he will be a speaker. exactly 12:30. Please attend this program also. With that, evening, 5 o'clock, two special speakers are there. One is Scotto Jerison from United States, as well as Parino Maria from Ireland. Both are related to Special Olympics. So those who are concerned with this Special Olympics, please attend this program exactly 5 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, God bless both of you, and for giving me this chance.